Hello and welcome back to the When You're Podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're watching Extraction 2. Now, we're picking up right where we left off. So, last time when we talked about the first Extraction, spoiler alerts for that movie, and obviously for that whole thing, but if you go back and you rewatch that movie, we see that the main character, Chris Hemsworth, he essentially, he dies. He's supposedly dead. But what actually happened was, dude, it's so bizarre. But anyways, he gets shot a bunch of times. He's badly injured. He's bleeding out. He falls off a bridge into some water, I think. And, so not only is he drowning, he's losing blood. He definitely doesn't have the strength to swim. Somehow gets up and he's rescued. He's rescued by his team and, long story short, he's barely holding on. He's barely living. So what happens next? They bring him back to life. And now he's in a hospital room, kind of like reborn again. He's good old, he's he's back alive. That's the main point, is he's alive again. He's able to live up without any kind of, obviously he's messed up, but he's alive at the bottom line. So he's alive again, and he's kind of like going through recovery. He's trying to figure out how to like walk and eat and essentially get back into tip-top fighting form, because there's a whole rest of this movie we got to get to. So he's like in this cabin somewhere in the middle of the woods, and some people barely know if he's alive, some people don't know he's alive, whatever, right? And then who shows up? Who do you expect to show up when you nearly got finished with a huge job? You almost died. You spent months of time of recovery, weeks maybe, months, however long. And then who comes at your doorstep? Idris Elba. Of course it's Idris Elba. And he shows up being Idris Elba, all mysterious and kind of like strong, but kind of like the type is like, I can do anything and I'm powerful, you know what I mean? I'm just as strong as you are, but I'm coming to help you and I understand your abilities, blah 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 blah, right? So he comes by and he's just like, listen dude, some stuff's going down and I need your help. I need your strength, I need your skills. And Chris Hemsworth's like, I don't care, screw you. He's like, all right, whatever, I'll leave. And then he's like, but your ex-wife, well, I don't even know if it was him. Anyways, he leaves, essentially. But then Chris Hemsworth gets told by his ex-wife that her sister is in trouble. I don't remember who exactly tells him that his ex-wife's sister's in trouble. All I know is he gets the information that his ex-wife's sister's in trouble and that he has to go and save her from some foreign country where she's kept in a prison, and her 2 kids. So that's what we're going for. That's what we're doing here. So he goes through recovery like all champs do. He goes through recovery, and within weeks, he's back in tip-top fighting form. He's able to run. He's like running in the snow. He's chopping wood. He's doing pull-ups. He's like, as if none of the previous injuries mattered. You know what I'm saying? He just magically heals, and he's back to being in the best shape of his life. Kind of. Let's say he's like 85% there. I'm not going to say full 100, but he's 85% there. And 85% of him is better than, 100% of like me. So, he's definitely up there. Anyways, his ex-wife is and him are kind of like, I don't want to say they're on the best of terms, but, at the same time, they're kind of like, they have a relationship there. And his ex-wife just needs the help because this is her sister we're talking about, and she needs to be saved. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So his wife's sister, let's just call her the sister-in-law or whatever. So his sister-in-law has 2 kids, but they don't exactly live in the best place in the world, all right? They live in a prison in some foreign place. I forget what it's called, but they live in some place. And it's a prison. And she's living there with her abusive husband because the husband went to jail for doing bad things, and he wanted to bring the family with him so that way they wouldn't be far apart. You see how messed up that is? He brought his own family to prison because of what he did wrong. So, because he's in prison, they're all in prison. The prison is terrible to live in. The husband is very abusive to the mother, and it kind of like messes up the kids a bit, especially the son. But we'll get to him, all right? So the wife, sister, and the 2 kids, they live in the prison. They want to get out. She wants to escape. She's like, I can't take this anymore. This is going to ruin me for the rest of my life if we don't get out now. So she sends help, and essentially the husband, he's part of I don't want to say a terrorist group, but they are murderers. It's like a murderous gang called the Nagazi. And his brother, his name is Zurab. Zurab. I forget how exactly. Maybe it's Zurub. Whatever. So his brother is kind of like the guy on the outside while he's in prison. So the brother outside is leading things, and he's kind of like, listen, I want my brother out of jail, you know? So he goes to like the official guy. He goes to like maybe the governor of the country or whatever. And he's like, let my brother out of prison. And he's like, no. He's like, okay, I don't think you understand who you're messing with. So he kills him, and then I think he tries to get his brother out. Like that's what we're going towards here. And I think the brother's name, so the husband's name is David. Or is it David? David. It's David. And he's in prison, blah, blah, blah. I already spoke about all that. So, you know the woman in the first movie? I think her name is Nick. Well, she's coming back again to help Chris Hemsworth's character. And so they're going to do a prison break-in. So they're going to break into the prison, get his sister-in-law and their kids out, and that'll be it, you know? So they have to break in first, and then they have to immediately break out without, you know, obviously dying. And this is where we get the prison fight. This is the most, I mean, it's badass, dude. What can I say? I think most of it's in one shot. I don't want to say it's completely in one shot, but most of it is kind of like one big fight in one go, which is beautiful, which is a great piece of work. But so Nick and her sister, no. Nick and her brother, I think it's her brother. I don't know if they're just like co-workers. I think they're brother and sister. But Nick brings her brother Yaz on the mission, and they are kind of his backup. So essentially the way that it works is those two are in a car somewhere, right? They're on the outside of the prison, and then Chris Hemsworth goes into the prison, and he alone has to get everybody out. So it gets, I don't want to, obviously it's hard for me to describe exactly every single step of the plan, but essentially he gets into the prison and he finds them, it's smooth. Obviously infiltrating, getting in is the easy part. It's the getting out part that's difficult because you have any number of factors. You have the kids to worry about. You have the woman who's there who might not be fast enough or smart enough, or a bunch of things are going on that they've never experienced before. So it's kind of going to be like, oh snap, like she doesn't know certain tactical things. So you're gonna have to be in charge. You're gonna have to make sure everybody stays quick and silent. You know, that's the number one rule. So it's fight time. They get out, but they get caught early on. But I think it's the husband finds out, and the husband runs the prison. You know what I mean? So now everybody's coming after Chris Hemsworth and the family, and he's fighting for his life, and he's fighting for the family's lives. So he's fighting, he's punching, he's doing his thing, and then eventually it gets to David, who is the husband. It gets to him, and they're all about to escape. The kids make it out. They're okay. They're alive, and they're safe and like a safe place in the car, getaway car. But it's Tyler and the sister-in-law that have to fight the husband. And when I say the sister-in-law doesn't really do a whole lot, she doesn't do a whole lot, but Chris Hemsworth holds it down. And surprisingly, he kills the husband early on. Like, he kills the husband. So obviously he was doing it to protect the sister-in-law, but he kills him. And I thought it was a little early. I thought we'd have more time to see them fight again. You know what I mean? So essentially he kills the husband and to save the sister-in-law, save his sister-in-law. And now they escape. But the son is like, where's dad? We have to get dad out too. Like, dad's coming with us, isn't he? And the mom is kind of like, yeah, he'll show up, you know, sometime. And the son's kind of like, where's dad? Why are we leaving without father? He's been brainwashed by this gang and idolizes his dad to the point where it's just like, he's such an idiot. The kid is so dumb. So anyways, the fight's not over there, okay? The fight has not ended. So they're driving, and they're being chased. Now, the next point, so the car isn't their main escape point. The train is next, and then from the train they get to a safe house, and then from the safe house they get to a plane, and then they escape, right? So first the train. So after surviving the prison, now they have to fight in a whole train. And in fighting in the train, well, there are some complications. They have like some helicopters shooting bombs and guns, and they have a bunch of men storming the train. So Chris Hemsworth has to fight them off, as well as Nick and Yaz. They all have to kind of coordinate and fight together somehow to survive. And in the end, well, they come out on top. That's the way. That's their way. So they escape the train, and now all fighting has ceased. They made it to a safe spot. And then they get on a plane and they start cruising, you know? They're like, man, that was crazy, huh? We made it through that, and now we can rest easy. We can breathe a little bit. So they're on the plane and they're on their way to a new life, essentially. They're gonna live a carefree life now. At least that's what they all think is gonna happen. But the son, Sandro, his name is Sandro, he picks up a phone. He's just like, let me get on the phone real quick. And, well, he calls his uncle, which is Zurab, the one who killed the governor in, like, the beginning. He calls him, and he's like, listen, dude, we just escaped, and we're heading to a safe spot. We're heading to, like, this building or whatever. So you should come through and get me out, because my mom's a traitor to my father, and my father is dead, more than likely. So he essentially ruins everything. And him and Chris Hemsworth kind of have like a talk between them, where he's like, you killed my father. And Chris Hemsworth's like, yeah, because he was trying to kill your mom. He's not a good man. He was going to kill her. Do you understand the words that I'm saying here? He was going to kill your mom. Like, that's pretty basic stuff. He's not a good father. He's not a good man. He's a killer. He's a murderer. Are you out of your mind? And then the son is like, well, sadly, I kind of informed the big gang that we're coming, that we're here, and they're going to kill everybody. So then they show up to this, to where they are in this building, this place, wherever, I don't know, it's just like it looks like a hotel, but it's like a penthouse building, apartment complex, whatever. Kind of like just like a big tower of building, whatever. You get the idea. They're in this place and they have to fight. So they bring the fight to them. Now they're attacking them now. And it gets bloody. It gets messed up. And they're fighting. Explosion goes off. Guns. They're going downstairs. They're going upstairs. They're doing everything in their power to fight and win. And all of the madness that goes down, Sandro runs away. He's like, I'm leaving so that way I can join the Nagazi, my uncle, the real men, the people who care about us, the good people. And he's just an idiot kid who just doesn't know how to make good decisions. He has terrible sense of judgment. He just, he's been raised wrong his whole life. You know what I mean? He doesn't care about his mom. He doesn't care about his sister. He's just like, men, I will join up with them. So he runs away from them. And because of that, they keep on fighting. And eventually, Yaz, the girl's brother, Nick's brother, he dies. Yeah, he dies. And then obviously Chris Hemsworth is fighting the brother of David. He's fighting Zurab, who is like avenging his brother's death by the man who killed him. And they're fighting. And that one ends in I don't want to say a draw, but, it ends with both of them injured and hurt. You know what I'm saying? So they're both kind of down for the count. And Yaz dies, and that puts a blanket on the end of that fight, which is also great. But that puts the end to that. And now they have to retreat somewhere else. So now Sandro is missing. Yaz is dead. Nick and Chris Hemsworth are both brutally beaten and destroyed. And on top of all of that, they still have to get Sandro back. So they go to this little cabin somewhere. I don't know. It's just like a little safe house, little small spot. And Chris Hemsworth and his ex-wife have a little small talk. And they talk about how they just give us a little backstory on their relationship, why they, probably divorced in the first place, about his son dying. His son died of cancer, which is okay, I thought it was going to be a little bit more traumatic. You know what I mean? Not, obviously I'm not saying that cancer is not traumatic. I'm just saying that cancer is more of, in the first film, it was kind of left anonymous. It was kind of he's dead, but we don't know by what. We don't know how. So I kind of envisioned in my mind that he died from being killed or, car crash, a gunshot, something that was meant for him, but he couldn't protect his son. And now obviously his son died and the wife blames him. And I thought it was going to be a lot more of that. Instead, it's more of a disease. You know what I mean? And obviously that's a whole different thing, but so they give us some backstory on that, and essentially he left to go because he's in the military. So he left while his son was sick with cancer when he could have stayed, but he left to go on an Afghanistan tour or something like that. I don't know. But he left the family, and while he left, his son died. And so that's why there's kind of a big thing between them, which is also very complicated and sad. But, again, I thought it was going to be something a little bit darker. You know what I mean? So after that, Sandro and his uncle kind of prepare for the next fight, and Zurab calls Chris Chris Hemsworth, and he's like, listen, dude, I got Sandro here. What time do you want to pick him up? And Chris Hemsworth, he's kind of like, I'll meet you right now. Where are you at? So he comes through, and and Chris Hemsworth wants to go alone so that nobody else dies, which is what happened to Yaz. But Nick is like, I'm going no matter what. But he ends up leaving her anyway. So he ditches her. And then there's a big fight in a church. And this church battle is gruesome. It is man to man. And they have like the son strapped to a bomb. And it becomes a big brawl, a big battle. And it's during this big battle that the son, Sandro, starts realizing the error of his ways. That the people that he once believed to be, the best people in the world, or the good guys, are actually very much the bad guys and not good. So after all of that, Sandro is saved by Nick. Nick saves him. Chris Hemsworth kills Zurab, and they all are badly injured. They're all in very big pain. Especially Nick. She's like on the brink of death here. All right, she's about to die. So after all of that, they're all taken to prison because they're not in America and they shouldn't have been caught. You know what I mean? They all go to prison. Where they obviously get the best medical care. So they go to prison. And it's during, like, when he's in prison, Chris Hemsworth gets a call from his ex-wife being like, they're free, I got them out, but they have no money and nothing to live on, so I don't know what we're going to do. And he's like, and Chris Hemsworth tells her, like, listen, you know that cabin I took you to? Yeah, there's there's $1 million cash in the base, in the floors, if you look hard enough, all right? Give them that money and they can survive. And they can figure something out. Do your thing. And the wife is like, your son didn't see you leaving him. Your son saw you being a hero and saving people. That's how he remembers you. And then Chris Hemsworth has like this cathartic moment where he's like, I thought my son hated me or, saw me as something other than a good man because I left him. So he kind of has like some catharsis. I don't think it's as impactful as saving the kid in the first one. You know what I mean? Because it's like he got to save, kind of like this other boy, this other like version of his son. But anyways, he and the girl that live have to serve prison time or whatever. Or she died or she's dead or... You know what? Long story short, he's in prison, but then Idris Elba, dude, what a guy. He breaks him out of jail. Not only does he, hang out with him after his last win, but he's there after his other win, and he's like, hey, man, good work. You know what I'm saying? I want you to work for me again. I have another job for you. What do you say? And Chris Hemsworth's like, well, I'm not leaving without, my homie who's, in the hospital here in the prison. And then she comes out the car and she's like, I'm alive. I almost died, but I lived. And so now it appears that there's going to be an Extraction 3, which I have no idea what that one's going to be about. But hopefully Idris Elba's in it. Hopefully we get some action scenes with him and Chris Hemsworth. That would be cool. So at the end of it all, Extraction 2 is a bunch of recovery, revival. It's a personal story. It's a story about family. It's a story about, saving people. It's a story about the cycle of wrongdoings and how we can be better people. So when you're watching Extraction 2, forget about Extraction 1 and just focus on, hey man, he's recovering from his last fight, and then he's going straight to his next one. And that's the cycle with all of these movies, right? They never get a break. You never see them happy. You never see like an action hero get like a romance, do a happy little like romance period in his life, right? We never see that establishment. It's already just like, it's quick, it's fast. It's like, oh, they're already married, or they already have a girlfriend, or they have somebody that they like, or they looked at a girl one time and that's a girl that they've been in love with for forever. Like there's never any build up. There's never any like establishment of a connection, of fun, of joy, of like date night. Like there's none of that. It's just simply, oh, we're already married. Like there's already an establishment there, and I have to go fight now. Goodbye. Like that's how it goes. But Extraction 3, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Extraction. I mean, I cannot state the action in this movie is quality. I mean, it's so good. But that's because the director is a stunt coordinator. I think he's part of the action mold. He really does it. So he knows exactly how to do it the right way, which is fantastic. So Extraction 2, go watch it, and I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.